blocks hopefully nearby, a strap, a bolster. When we're seated, doing our cooling down exercises, you want them nearby where we can reach for them. So that being said, let's go ahead and start at the back of the mat. And just bringing your attention to arriving. Everything that brought you here today, still waiting for you out at the door. But while you're here, we'll hopefully have just a little bit of time, a little bit of space. Upon arriving, just notice how you're breathing, how the body might be feeling in our home base position of mountain. Notice how the feet feel on the mat, the knees, the legs can be slightly straightened or bent, but give yourself a little bit of time to open up if you're a little achy in the legs. And as we slowly focus inward, the heart rate begins to slow down. And you'll notice your breath cycle, the inhales and the exhales, becoming a little more balanced. And in through the nose, out through the nose. Start to become a little more aware of a wave-like cycle of breath. So as we begin to develop a more relaxed breath, start to begin bringing space to the back of the throat. On both the inhales and the exhales, you may hear something akin to an ocean wave, a deep sigh. But as you reconnect to your Ujjayi breath, you can use that connection all throughout the practice. We'll begin by cultivating a little more breath to body movement. Let's get into our mountain just a little more strength, straightening the legs with a little more intent, and keeping the core engaged on the exhale slightly, just to keep the body nice and rooted and firm. With the next deep inhale, we'll start to roll the weight towards the toes, keeping the body somewhat upright till we feel that tipping edge almost right there at the toes. Go ahead, use the next breath, start to roll the center of gravity at the feet towards the heels. And again, the body upright for the most part, till you feel that tipping point to the back of the heels. And just giving yourself the couple of breaths needed to explore that heel to toe center of gravity, and hopefully giving you a better idea of where to meet at center, back at mountain. Let's go ahead and reset the mountain one more time, getting a little longer, a little taller. And as we're energized upwards, we're just going to roll the center of gravity towards the outer right edges of the feet till we stop. Inhale all the way back up or all the way to the other side. Give yourself a 2-part or a 3-part breath and explore the side-to-side movement and establish your center once that's been explored. Coming back to mountain, we'll set back in, energize upwards, feel that string pulling at the crown of the head. And as we're energized, we're just going to make small circles at the ankles, feeling this circle radiating outward toward the edges of the feet. And once you get that identified, we'll bring ourselves back to center, like water going down a drain. Settling into the mountain, resetting once more, and closing this loop by circling in the opposite direction. And then returning to center once that's been established. I like to imagine a big wooden spoon with one contact point at the bottom of the pot. And then we return to that home base when we're done. All right, go ahead and shake out any residual tension, activation in the feet, ankles, knees. And we'll move on up to our balancing and hip opener. So inhaling nice and tall in our mountain. Go ahead and bring some standing weight to the left leg. Once you find that center of support is there, you can lift the right foot. Just hover it above the mat. And if you have that stability, go ahead and bring some momentum to the right leg as a unit to bring lubrication to the right hip. You might have to do some counterbalancing with your arms, but do the best you can and then return to mountain. Giving ourselves one more reset. Inhaling, standing weight to the left leg. We'll go ahead and internally rotate the hip on the right, and then externally rotate it and land the right foot. We'll do a total of 4 of these. And start off small, or work larger as that space becomes available to you. And just depending on your activity, you may be surprised at what you find. Now, once we go in that one direction, we're going to return to mountain once more, standing weight to the left leg. We'll do that external to internal rotation this time. Another set of 4. At your own pace, and then we'll meet back at mountain. Go ahead and deactivate any residual tension in that left leg by kicking to the front, to the outside, before you cross over the right leg, that midline. It just helps you to reset. Sometimes we're still gripping onto that activation of the muscles. Standing weight now on the right leg, inhaling deeply, and then lifting the sole of the left foot to find our balance. And then bringing some swinging motion to the left hip, hopefully lubricating the left hip, and then letting that left foot land gently. Inhaling once more, standing weight to the right leg. We're going to internally rotate and then externally rotate the left hip. And sometimes that's a big movement, depending on the space we have. Sometimes it'll be very small, especially if you've been doing a lot of sitting, crouching, driving. Alrighty? We'll reset our mountain once more, standing weight to the right leg, and our final outer to inner rotation of the left hip. Set of 4. And when you're done, we'll meet back at center. And moving on up to the shoulders. At this point, you want to feel like your mountain is getting a little longer. Maybe the knees, when they were bent, are going to be a little straighter. Maybe the torso, if it's pitched forward, might just come right back into place, sinking the spine directly into the pelvic bowl, pressing the hips just forward, just gently, so you can get a taller mountain as you go up in our warm-ups through the body. So with the next inhale, palms facing forward, the shoulders lift up, and then on the exhale, we roll them back and just let them melt down. Fully exhaled, core engaged by the bottom of the exhale. Inhaling up, rotating back fully with those deep Ujjayi breaths. And notice if anything changes in your mountain. Does the support at the feet feel like it's rolling out towards the outer edges? We'll come back to our mountain once you're done with your 4 and start our second set. Inhaling upward, go the shoulders, but this time we roll them forward and down, melting down the back again. The second set of 4 with the rolling forward with each exhale. I think I gave myself an extra one there, just feeling like that's good. Then go ahead and move on up to the taller mountain once more. And we'll feel that energy lifting us upwards with the inhale, top of the inhale, and then exhale, let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. Left shoulder and right shoulder, same line, hopefully. Inhaling, the chest may lift. Exhaling, turn the gaze if you haven't already. using about 4 breath cycles to see if you can find release to the left side of the neck, even the eyes resting on the rightmost side of your periphery. Maybe it's on your shoulder, maybe it's behind your shoulder by the very last exhale. When you're done with that, we can inhale the eyes, the gaze, the head completely back up with the inhale, so that all we have to do is exhale over to the other side. Palms facing forward if they turned inward, and then turning the gaze and giving yourself that opportunity to release with the Ujjayi breath. Very last exhale, and bring the inhale to bring the eyes, the head, all the way back up to center, and then exhale, allow the eyes to guide downward at about the top of the mat, about 6 feet in front of you. Feel that nice long length to the back of the neck without resting the chin or diminishing too much space between the chin and the chest. You want about, I don't know, tennis ball size space there, maybe a golf ball. But you want that space there so you have safety for the discs in the neck, for that spinal region at the base of the skull. And so with each breath, you can still get into these tight areas. After the very last exhale, we're going to go ahead and inhale the eyes back up to center, past the center, and when you can see the ceiling above you, stop craning the neck. Try to keep it as long as you can. And we're just going to use the next few breaths to see about releasing in the front of the throat, maybe the tongue, maybe the jaw. Give yourself small O's to large O's. Gently release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. You can even just give yourself a sort of rolling out of the tongue, a lulling of the tongue. And then when you're ready, bring the tongue back in, eyes come back to center, and we're done with our warm-up. Let's go ahead and give ourselves any additional movement that feels good. And we'll go ahead and start with our modified Sun Salutations, beginning with our forward fold. So feeling nice and energized, lifting up from the heels, through the legs, through the spine, neck, and through the crown of the head. We're going to reach downward with our fingers, and then inhale, extend the arms above our head. Exhale, start to hold at the hips. If you have tight legs, bend those knees. Long back, somewhere halfway down, you can always float down or walk the hands down the legs. Just give yourself some time here to unfold. I have been traveling, I have been unpacking, I have been doing so much with the body, I am just really stiff. So if you've been doing a lot of activity and you're just now kind of recovering from all that, give yourself the space and the time to stretch out and recover. So the next thing is we're spending about 5 full breath cycles in our first kind of ragdoll of a forward fold. So you can bend one knee, bend the other. Keep them deeply bent if the backs of your legs are really tight. You don't have to have straight legs. We're working towards releasing. So once you get the stabilized from the hips down to the heels, you might be able to feel that release from the tailbone, down the lower back, the spine, the neck, and finally to the head. Right now I'm holding onto my head, so just by simply being aware of that, I might be able to loosen any activation, if not release it altogether. And just hopefully trying to take a breath or two to feel everything from the upper body just releasing down with the help of gravity, with nature's own gentle traction. And then when we're ready to come out, we're going to do a slow roll up here. So our engagement of the core begins with slightly pressing into the feet, firming up the thighs, the belly, and we're unfurling the spine one vertebra at a time so that the last thing is the head that stacks on the neck, palms facing forward, shoulders rolling back, melting down. And just give yourself a breath or two to let the blood rush back to the head. We're going to do one more fold. reaching downward, feeling a little taller than a mountain. Let's go ahead, inhale, arms above the head. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold. Take 3 breaths here, 3 breath cycles, that is. See if you can lift your toes, your heels, bend one knee, bend the other. Sway the hips from side to side. Give yourself what you feel might be good for the body right now. If you feel like you're tipping over, bring a little more weight to the heels. One more deep breath cycle, in and out. And then this time you can roll back up just as we did before. You can extend those arms. Inhale, engage the core. Come on up with the power of an inhale. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. Relax shoulders and elbows at the side. Inhale, starting our walking meditation. Right foot lifts with the inhale. Exhale to heel, ball of foot and toes down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale the heel, ball of foot and toes down. If you feel like you're going to fall out, press into the palms, engage the core just a little more. That might help to bring you back to center. And as we walk to the top of the mat, we'll meet in mountain, looking down at the fingertips. Press, inhale, watch the fingertips rise. Separate the palms at the top. Exhale, hinge at the hips and fold. Fully folded here, exhaled. Inhale, let's half lift. We're going to lengthen through the legs as well as the tailbone through the head. We're looking straight down. Feel that nice 90-degree or 45-degree angle at the hips. And then exhale, release the torso back towards the fold. Separate the hands to either side of the feet. Step a right leg back, step a left leg back. Inhale, shoulders over the wrists, and then bring the knees down, untuck the toes, and let's hang out here for a couple of breaths. See if your shoulders are in a good position. I feel like I'm a little past my wrists. But we want to find that nice protraction of the shoulder blades moving away from the spine, nice and stable. And the core is drawn in towards the spine, belly button sticking to the spine as much as you can. Let's go ahead and inhale, tuck the toes, lift up the hips, and exhale, bring the hips back, push into those arms, far down dog. See where you land here. You might need to separate the legs a little more, widen that width between them. Maybe it's the distance between the hands and the feet. The way you can tell about where that should be is if your heels are lifted, then you're going to focus on just lifting up the hips and gently pressing through the heels as is available. That's that part of the body. From the hips down to the heels is one energy line of directed energy. Then from the hips to the hands. So you're also going to press into those arms. Really protract the shoulders, make it wide in the upper shoulders. And then you've got the hips that you're just gently pressing upwards as you're pressing down into the hands and into the legs, feet. You have these 3 different, sort of like an M, capital M position of points. So, or a V. Anyhow, we're coming here. And we're just getting into that last deep breath of our first down dog. And then roll the eyes to the hands and walk the hands to the feet and step back to the back of the mat. Fully exhaled here. Let's inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come up with your choice, but engage the core. And at the top, hands down, heart center with the exhale. We'll meet for our second walking meditation, pressing into the core and the hands, lifting the right foot with the inhale. Exhale, heel, ball of foot and toes down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale it down. Inhale. Exhale. And at the top of the mat, looking down at the hands, inhale them up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Step back into your high plank. Inhale, shoulders over the wrists. Keep a nice strong plank. Fingers are splayed. Index and middle fingers are directed towards the top of the mat. Belly button is engaged and moving towards the spine. And you're pressing into the arms. Shoulders are nice and strong. Heel to head, that one long diagonal energy line. Let's go ahead and inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, press hips back to your down dog. And only 3 breaths here. Let's go ahead and give yourself a walking of the dogs. That's just bending one knee and then the other. You can give yourself a 3-legged dog if you'd like, and just stretch out a leg on one side. Bring it down on the exhale. Inhale, stretch out the other leg. And bring that down on an exhale. You can do what feels good to you at this point in your practice. And then we'll inhale, look to the hands. Exhale, walk the hands to the back of the feet, to your fold at the back of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, engage the core. Come on up. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. And finally down to the sides. Giving ourselves a breath or two. And then shake out any residual, anything, if there's something there. And we'll move to coming down to the mat. Usually we have a standing, like a tree or something like that, but sometimes I like to mix that up with a low lunge. But recently we've been just coming down to the mat to give ourselves a little longer in that cool down period. Now here's the side view. We're meeting in staff. And we're going to come into a Lord of Fishes twist. It's just a very gentle twist, but it's kind of something that's going to help us widen the hips and release through the legs and through the lower back in a gradual progressive stage. So we're starting in our staff position here. Make sure if you have a lot of gluteal flesh or if you just feel off balance, just move the flesh away from the tailbone. And then rock a little bit on the sits bones. See if that helps you to kind of identify center. And then we'll do the same thing forward and back with this pelvic bowl. It's kind of like when we're on our feet trying to find our foundation. So feet are about hips distance apart in our staff position here. And we're just feeling as if the spine is just, we're at this 90-degree angle. And we have this spine not pitched forward, but hopefully just at this 90-degree angle, just sinking into the pelvic bowl. Shoulders are nice and relaxed. You can have the palms facing up or down. Give yourselves a couple of breaths here in our staff. Then with our next inhale, we're just going to bend the left knee. So go ahead and start to bend it. You may need to lean back a little bit to start to bring the sole of the foot down onto the mat, and then see how close you can bring this heel towards the groin. We're just trying to bring ourselves to a position where we can wrap our left arm around the left bent knee. And for some of us, that might look like this. You may not be able to bend it that far, so just make sure you're sitting even distribution of weight on the sits bones. You're bending the left knee and somewhat just resting in an upright staff position as we were before, with just this left knee bent. And we're just drawing it inward as we can. We're getting a tremendous stretch in the underside, the hamstrings. And if you can, sit upright. The more you can draw the knee and sit upright. And that is what we're eventually looking for in this first version of Lord of Fishes. Okay, so once we're here and we're feeling our sits bones are evenly distributing the weight, and we can bring some version of this left knee into a bent position, wrapping this left arm somewhere around it. And again, Lord of Fishes may look different for everyone. Then let's go ahead with the next inhale, nice and tall with the torso, and then exhale. Let this leg grow long and rest back on the mat, back to center. If you felt a great pinching here, it might be that we just need to release that a little bit more. But having had that, we're now moving to the second position of our Lord of Fishes. So with the next inhale, we're going to bend this left knee once more. And then this time, bring the left foot to the outer right edge of your right leg. So on the outer outside of your right shin. So again, it's just gently giving us a little bit of a stretch to the left side here, to our IT band, and we're just bringing up the sole of the foot to the left side, and you might have to roll it. It might be that your left edge of the foot is on the mat like this, but eventually we're hoping to get the complete sole of the foot onto that side. So don't force it though if you can't. If it's really tight, you're just stretching a little bit in that hip, in the knee, in the IT band area. All right, we'll go ahead and bring this left foot back, allow it to lengthen and return to center. Go ahead and bounce it a little bit if you need. Okay. And now we're going to bend this left knee once more, inhaling, allowing this left sole of the foot to come down to the mat and drawing the heel closer to our hips once more. And this looks familiar. So we'll be inhaling, wrapping our left arm around this left bent knee, trying to keep as long, tall as a torso as possible. One more deep inhale. All righty. And then the next thing, we're going to take this hand, and we're just going to bring the back of your bicep, the tricep here, the back of the upper arm to the inner part of this knee, and see if you can lay the back of the hand on the mat. You're just turning, internally rotating the left shoulder. You're going to inhale nice and tall as you're internally rotating the shoulder. So you'll get a nice stretch to the back, right underneath the shoulder blades. And then you can bring this left hand palm to rest right behind you. Let's go ahead and inhale. We're going to bring this right hand back in front of us. Place this right hand next to your right thigh, hip, and then internally rotate, release this left hand. Come back. With the inhale of your torso getting longer, we're going to lift the right arm, and then exhale, twist while we're still lifted, and see if you can rest the back of the right arm on this knee. Might be that you can only bring the forearm, maybe the elbow, maybe the forearm. Maybe you could just reach that way. Maybe you could only grip with the inside of the right elbow. But we're trying to keep an upright torso, twisting now to this side while we're in this Lord of Fishes bent knee position. One more deep inhale. One more deep exhale. Draw the belly button to the spine, nice and tall. And then release back to center. Now inhale and extend the leg. And tap that out. One more thing on this side, when in our staff position, reset, return to center, and when you're ready, we're going to inhale once more, bend the left knee, and this time, bring the sole of the left foot to the inner right leg, somewhere. Sort of like when we're doing those head to knee, half butterfly, hybrid position. In here, we're gonna give ourselves 3 to 5 breaths to find that edge. So you might need to just wait and see if gravity helps your knee on this left side to open up, left hip to open up and bring the left knee down closer. Or it could be that, well, that's about as open as your hips are going to be, and you might just need something to support it if it feels more comfortable with that support. And sometimes, if you're just like me, you might want gravity to help you out. And just be there with the help of gravity. From this point, once you've found that sweet spot, give yourself 5 good breaths here. And after you're done with your 5th breath cycle, let's go ahead and inhale. Bring the left hip back into center. So we're gently guiding this left knee up. And as it comes back up, we can start to extend the left leg and bring it down. Give yourself any bouncing, any gentle rotation, movement that feels good, and we'll move to the other side. I'm going to turn to this side so you have that benefit of the perspective from here. And in our staff position, now we're moving, working with the right leg. Sitting up nice and tall. Just give yourself 2 good breaths here so you can feel that even distribution of weight, and you're feeling your hips are not pitching forward or back, so that you have an upright 90-degree angle as best that you can. And then once you're done with your 2 breaths, we're going to just simply draw the knee, the right knee inward with the first Lord of Fishes. Okay, and sometimes, just depending on how tight your hips are, maybe this is as far as you're going to get. Maybe it takes a few breaths to get the heel a little closer. But as we're moving through this first exploratory stage to find our edge, we don't want to press too much. If you have to curve the back in order to bring the knee, the knee up and the right heel closer to the groin, we're losing the benefit of sitting upright in the staff position. So try as best as you can to just find your edge. And when you found it, from there, give yourself just a couple of good deep breath cycles. And then we're going to allow the right leg to lengthen. Give it any bouncing that it needs. Wiggle your toes, reset the hips. And then we'll do this one more time. We're going to inhale, bend the right knee, draw the sole of the foot closer, if that's possible, or the same spot. And once you've situated the torso back to that 90-degree angle, we're just going to gently bring the right foot to rest on the left side of your left leg. And again, your sole of the foot the right sole of the foot may not be flat. It may be rolling to the outer edge. That's okay. But eventually, when you're in a Lord of Fishes position like this, eventually we're trying to release through these tight joint areas of the ankle, the knee, the hips, so that you might be able to get the entire sole of the right foot onto the mat. But again, depends on your practice and your progress. Just do the best that you can. Breathing. I believe I'm at my 3rd breath cycle here, just a couple more. Feeling the release here at the right hip, at the sides, the IT band, and the shin muscle. And when you're ready, we'll inhale to lift the foot and just let that leg extend. Give yourself any extra movement. Try to reset your staff position once more. And I believe we have one more with our twist. Well, actually 2. We have our twist on both sides. So inhaling, we'll go ahead and bring the knee in closer. See if any differences have occurred in the opening of this right hip. Oh, interesting. Put the right foot over to the left side of the left leg once more. We're going to place this right hand here, right at our hip, our right hip. And the inhale, you can lift up the left arm here and just exhale, twist over. And allow the back of the left upper arm, the left elbow, maybe just the left forearm. Maybe it's just here, maybe it's here, maybe it's all the way over here. But we're working at inhaling while we're still lifted and twisting to the other side and not forcing anything. Giving ourselves 3 to 5 breath cycles once we've gotten to that position. We may need to move the position of our fingertips where they're pointing towards. And when you're ready to come out, we inhale, have that energy upwards, while we exhale and release back to center. But we're going to continue to come over and bring this right arm to this side. Bring the right hand to rest somewhere on this left side, and the left hand somewhere back by the left hip. And again, we're twisting on this side. Nice and upright, tall through the torso, through the crown of the head. And after your 5th breath cycle, you can return to center. Gently guide this right leg back and extend the right leg. Go ahead and tap that out. Okay. So next, we're going to bring ourselves into a seated butterfly. Now that we've opened up the hips a great deal on the left and right sides separately, now we're going to do it at the same time. We may need to lean back a little bit too. If you have an extra bolster, you can lean back and put that behind your back. But I don't have one here, so I can't demonstrate that for you. But if you've been in our class before and you know how to do a reclining butterfly, you can also do that. You don't have to just keep it a seated butterfly. Anyhow, so we're here in our staff. We start to bring the knees into our butterfly, bending each of the knees, bringing the soles of the feet together. And this is where we start to explore the state of our hips, our knees, even our ankles. And then you start to open up. So, wow, my hips are really tight today. So depending on where your hips are, you may need blocks to help support the legs until they feel like they can open up with safety. That is a defense mechanism that we have. Now, if that feels good to you, then you're just eventually lowering the settings over the course of time. Sometimes you can do that within a practice. Maybe you just need a little bit of time to open up. And again, we're trying to find a good balance in our hips. We don't want to feel like we're rolling to one side or the other. And if you find that you've gone too deep in some of these cooling down positions where, we may not feel uncomfortable until a little bit after we've been there, you're always welcome to come out and go in with a little less intensity. So again, sometimes your practice can differ from week to week, if not day to day. So just be mindful of your inner teacher. Be connected so that you know how you're feeling. Alrighty. So as we get to this point where we found the opening of our foundation of butterfly, then we're going to figure out the rest of our butterfly. Are we just going to sit? Now, in this preliminary butterfly of seated, just hanging on to the ankles is giving you hopefully this nice long stretch in the arms and the shoulder blades if you keep this all relaxed with just enough activation to hook the hands around the ankles. Try not to grip anything. We're just hooking it so that you don't fall off. But at the same time, hopefully not any activation in these muscles in the arms and in the shoulders that we're really just trying to stretch out here with this nice just release and curve of the upper shoulders and neck. Now sitting here in a seated butterfly for about 5 full breath cycles, you'll find yourself just a little more open in the hips. And after your 5th breath, you can decide if you want to roll the back down and turn it into a reclining butterfly. And you can also just lean back on one elbow at a time if you don't have the blocks. But if you do have the 2 blocks system, we have that in between the shoulder blades at the mid-back or higher. And then eventually the shoulders and the upper shoulders rest on the block. That's across the head and neck, supporting this part. So that's one way of reclining and just enjoying 10 good breath cycles here. Now, if you don't have the benefit of the extra blocks or your formation, you could be here just allowing the shoulders to support, but try not to let the head loll backwards. You're going to need some sort of support on the head. So that may not be for too long. So you can walk the arms up. And just be in a seated position of the rest of it doesn't work for you. But if you're here laying down, we've gone through almost our full 10 breath cycles here. And all we're trying to do is just let ourselves not hold on to muscles, not activate our muscles, so we can just relax and then hopefully let things just open up on their own. Now, when we become so relaxed that we're sort of in that surrendered state, you're a little more fragile, especially in these hip openers. So we're going to do our best to gently, if you're reclining, the first thing you want to do is start to allow the knees to be gently supported by the hands. Bring the soles of the feet to the floor. And then we're just going to start to bring the heels of the feet and the elbows so that we can bring our torso up a little bit. And if you're on those blocks, you can lean into it and remove. Oh, let me show you from the other side. So you can lean into your hips and remove these blocks. You can move the hips and the knees to one side, like in a fetal position, and then help yourself back up. If you're in this initial seated position, all you need to do is lift up through the spine, bring the hands to the side, gently release the soles to the mat, and bring the knees together with the hands, and then allow the knees to come down to the mat, straightening, and returning to our staff position. All righty. Now we get to come onto our bellies. Now, turning all the way around the way you prefer, and you may need a a folded blanket on the mat. Today I'm not going to use one, but you want to give yourself some time when you're first on your belly, just like when you're first on your back. Just allow yourself to be supported. That just means that as you're resting, and usually just resting your head to one side or the other, or, on pillowed hands like this, but just savor that first time your glutes, your legs can all just relax, and that your back and your lumbar, everything that kind of balances the torso onto the pelvic bowl while you're standing, all those muscles, they can just release, they can just relax, and it just feels very nice. So give yourself a chance to do that when you first come down onto the belly. All right, and then we're going to give ourselves some space, hopefully to breathe, by just pillowing our hands underneath our brow. Go ahead and bring the toe tips to rest on the mat, so you can kind of walk your legs away from the pelvic bowl. They can be straight underneath the hips, or they can kind of be angled out towards the corners of the mat. But you just want to get long in the legs, and then just release the tops of the feet to the mat again. Then imagine everything from the hips down to the toes. Everything there is going to be your anchor weight. We're going to start to bring the elbows underneath the shoulders. And then just start to feel this openness in the shoulders. We're going to move the shoulders away from the spine and then roll them back and down. Just let them kind of melt down. So we find this opening at the tops of the shoulders. Lots of space between the ears and the shoulders. And then bringing the forearms to press gently downward. You'll have more surface area of the forearms and palms of the hands if you give all this space, all this surface area, your intention to support the upper body. So you're going to use the foundation of the forearms all the way to the fingertips to keep the upper body lifted, but we don't want to activate anything else. We just need very few muscles really to kind of keep this general form. So once we find that, and here we are in our Sphinx, you can inhale and feel this almost diagonal pulling forward and then lifting up at the very end. It's a pull forward with the deep inhale, and at the very top of the inhale, just a gentle lifting up of the shoulders so you're not craning the neck, and you have a nice long line. It's almost from the mid-back all the way to the crown of the head, with the shoulders being open and shoulder blades being flat against the back. The mid-back, the shoulder blade points may be tucking gently into the back. And what essentially happens is you have this lifted torso so that maybe with each deep breath cycle, just the skin on the belly, right at the top where the rib cage meets, maybe making contact with the mat. Or maybe you could just feel that part of your belly moving with each breath. If your hands started to tent, try to relax them. Try not to allow the elbows to receive all the support and weight. You want to distribute that weight so it's easier for the elbows. And we're giving ourselves a total of 5 deep breath cycles here. If your glute started to activate, just try to release it with the exhale. If your toe started to curl, see if you can wiggle it and then let it go. And then after your very last breath cycle, we're going to move the elbows out to the side and just let the head be pillowed by the back of the hands once more, supported at the brow line. And then let's bring the back of the hands and the arms to extend down our sides and turn the gaze to the left. See if your shoulders are lifted. Just let them melt down away from the spine, down towards the mat. Then give yourself an inhale, press into your chest, bring the face back to center. It'll be just hovering above the mat, nose and chin maybe gently supporting the face at this point. But now we're going to bend our knees and see if you can touch your ankles, your shins, the tops of your feet. We're trying to bring the heels closer to the glutes, to the bottom, but you don't want to force anything. So if you're not able to do that, just reaching and maybe touching the material around your legs might help to bring it in. If you have that strap handy, and of course I'm on the other side, I don't, but if you do, you can bring that strap over there and just gently guide the strap against the tops of the feet and just pulse a little bit with it, maybe hold it for a little bit, and that might help you. You don't want to strain it. We're not trying to, hurt our knees. We want to keep a nice gentle guiding pressure, not anything that we can't handle. And then you can go ahead and release the feet back down. Sometimes if your kneecaps get a little compressed, you can always lift the leg and reset the skin and kneecap so you're not hurting yourself. And then we'll do that one more time. So inhaling, pressing into the chest, bringing the chin and the nose to hover on the mat. We're going to bend our knees, and this time reach again. In our second set, maybe we can reach a little closer around the ankles. Maybe we can bring the heels closer to the mat. If you find that this is a really easy position for you, then you may want to think about inhaling long and bringing the knee down the mat and then lifting gently upwards. That is opening up your hip as well as lengthening through the quad, and then you can release. But if it feels good just to stretch, that's good too. You can just do that. Just depends on where you are with your practice. And yes, we're staying here for a good 5 to 10 breath cycles and making sure we come out if our knees are complaining to us. And you can always give yourselves a little foot massage in this position too. Gently giving pressure to the arches, to the outer heel edges, and to each pad of the toe. All right, and then when we can release, we'll come onto our back next. Let's see how we're doing on time. All right, so we're moving into our Shavasana stage. So coming onto our back, however you get there. Some people like to come up to their knees, do a reverse push-up, giving yourself sort of like a child's pose stretch. In that transition, some people just like to put an arm stretched out and roll onto their back and then shimmy a little bit, an inch at the shoulder, an inch at the hips, back onto the mat. So that depends on you. Now, I'm going to sit upright to mind the time, but as you're getting ready for Shavasana, just allow yourself the space to respond to today's practice. If your mind starts to go back to anything, if you start to find achiness, whatever pops up in your head, acknowledge it and then let it go with the exhale. And eventually, you can quiet down the monkey mind. Just allow yourself to return to the breath. And when you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken from Shavasana. bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. As you reconnect to the body once more, you can make movements with the fingers, the toes. You can rock. You can come into a fetal position. However you're reconnecting, we'll be meeting back in an upright seated position for our breath exercise to end class. So making your hips a little higher than your knees if you're having any lower back issues or hip knee issues. That is really helping me today for some reason. My right hip and knee is really tight. Might have been all those activities I did last week and this week. Anyhow, sitting nice and tall. We'll go ahead and start with our alternate nostril hand positions. So bringing the left hand into our chin mudra, index and thumb touching, and just resting the back of that hand on the left thigh. Right hand in our Vishnu mudra of index and middle on the mount of the right thumb, or you can do the middle and index finger on the center brow. We're just closing the right nostril with the right thumb, left nostril with the right ring finger or right knuckle, depending on where our hand is on the right side. So giving ourselves a nice deep cleansing inhale. Let's go ahead and close the right nostril with the right thumb. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Last round. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Release the right hand. Release the mudras. Allow the breath to return to its natural state. Bringing hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining me here at ACC's community room for 1 p.m. gentle yoga. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.